You're listening to the Storied Coaching Podcast with Aaron J. Jacobs, episode number 97. This week, I'm giving you 3 tools that you can immediately start using to move from anxiety or depressive thinking into a much more peaceful state. Forward.
What if you could rewrite your current story? How would you spend your time? What would your career or business look like? What kind of life would you design? Welcome to Storied Coaching, the podcast for high-performing leaders that provides you with tools and insights for building a thriving business that fuels an amazing life on your terms. I'm Aaron J. Jacobs, and as a master coach and the CEO of OMH Creative and Storied Coaching, I've had the privilege and opportunity to learn what it takes to rewrite your story. It's never too late for a rewrite.
Hello, my friends. Welcome this week to the podcast. I just got back from the most amazing trip with my family. In fact, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, you'll notice that I'm wearing my New York City shirt in my own true style. I got a sleeveless one. Actually, my wife saw this while I was buying a hat for my son in one of the gift shops, and she was like, "This is perfect for you. You should totally get it." A little take on the one that John Lennon wore, actually. And I was like, "Yeah, that's awesome." And she grabbed it for me, and I love it. It's my new favorite summertime shirt, especially since here in the Pacific Northwest, it is hot. It is in the 80s and 90s this week. This is our hot time of the year. I'm very grateful that it is not quite as humid as it was when we were in New York, but the New York trip was so awesome. My wife and I took our 2 kids with us. They've been to New York City before, but they were so young at the time that they don't really remember the city experience. So we wanted them to have 2 parts of the trip. The first part would be the city, and right in Manhattan, and then hanging out, going to Times Square, doing all those sort of touristy things, and then going to visit our friends in upstate New York, about an hour outside the city, to have 4th of July and rent this beautiful Airbnb that just completely exceeded all expectations, which is nice, right? You think that something's going to be nice and you get there and it's really nice. Had its own like theater screening room with the reclining chairs and outdoor area, and we were on a lake. It was just amazing. Everyone had their own room and their own private space. And those of you who are fathers or have kids that you're raising right now know that when everybody has their own space, things tend to go a little bit better than being on top of each other, which is more of what we had when we were in the city. But I had such a great time with my family. And we did all these amazing things. We got to go see a Broadway show. We're big Harry Potter fans. And so we got to go see the Harry Potter Broadway production of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which had been a bucket list item for all of us because we're huge Harry Potter fans in our house. We read all the stories to our kids. We read them ourselves when my wife and I were actually in college when they came out, but then read them all to our kids as well as they were growing up. And so it's a family thing with us. And we had such a great time overall, the trip. But those of you that know and have families that you go on trips with know that it isn't all rosy all the time. And there are times when your kids, I have a 15-year-old and an 11-year-old, and there are times when your kids just are having a bad day. They're grumpy. They want to be back in their own space. They're feeling on top of each other. There's all kinds of things happening. Let's always go on some of these trips sometimes. And it was a navigation process for me as a parent, figuring things out, and things went well in general. I'd give the overall trip a solid B, but we did have our moments like any family does. And I had my own moment right towards the end of the trip. The last day and a half, I would say, I had my old friend anxiety pop up, which I haven't had a bout of anxiety where I wake up with it in, close to probably a year and a half. Most of what I do as far as my routine and some of the things that I share with you that I use in order to help maintain my daily mental health, whether that's moving or thought work or meditation, things like that. I've shared those things with you on the podcast over the last couple of years in different episodes, but I just want you to know that this is something that pops up for me as well. And so I thought, what a perfect time, because I had to work through it. That last day and a half, I needed to reach for my tools, and I was so glad that they were there. And so when I was thinking about what I should be talking to you about this week, I was like, hey, there's got to be at least one of the people that listen to the podcast that are going through something similar. And also, can I just take a moment to say thank you so much? It turns out that the last 3 or 4 episodes I've done have really struck a chord. I've gotten a lot of text messages. I've gotten responses from the YouTube video that we've been posting, comments that you're liking this content. You're liking this direction that we're going. And especially when we're talking about men and mental health, especially during Men's Mental Health Month, that was appreciated and that you found that useful. So going to keep bringing content like that to bear, like this. And so those of you that have listened to some of the other podcast episodes, I have talked about some of these things in the past, but I don't think I've put them all in a neat toolbox for you that you could use them all three at once. And I used these tools as on that last day and a half to help me to get out of the pit that I woke up in and get to an equilibrium where I was able to be functional and then progressively get better until I was pretty much out of it. I'd say that at the time, my anxiety was about at a 6 or a 7, and I was able to get it down to around a 2, which is much easier to function with, especially when you're traveling. And so I want to give those to you. If you are struggling with anxiety, if you're like me, you wake up with it sometimes, it's just there. It's hello, anxiety, my old friend, and you're making friends with it. And you get some of those repetitive thoughts about how things could go wrong, or maybe you're not doing things right, and you get some of those things as well. These tools are going to help you today. So I'm going to give you those 3 tools that I use to help pull myself out of anxiety when I find myself in it and non-productive thinking patterns. Now, next week, I think I'm going to go specifically into a model for what I call story thought modeling, which will help you. It's a process to take you from some of the non-productive thoughts you have and stories you're telling yourself to more productive ones. But these 3 that I'm gonna give you this week are the ones you can pull out and use almost immediately. And they're easy for anyone to adopt and use. With just a little bit of practice, you'll find them immediately helpful, especially if you find yourself getting into anxiety where it's getting to crisis level. All right. So my fellow guys out there, ladies, this is gonna work for you as well if you're listening. But my fellow guys, if you're on a trip like I was, you're not with your regular routine, you're not with your regular patterns that you can go to have some downtime, these things could save you. And so I'm going to give those to you right now. The first one is going to be, I use Transcendental meditation. You can go and take a course on that. It's 3 like 1 or 2 hour sessions. If I'm remembering correctly, it's been so many years since I've done it. You can find someone local in your area. It's non-religious based. It's just very secular as far as they teach you some techniques for how to drop into a meditative state and how to start the process from beginning to end. I highly recommend it. It's very affordable. And if you can do it, Transcendental meditation, just Google it, look for someone in your area that teaches it and go for a few sessions. And it's a tool you can use for life. If you're not into, that's not your jam, totally fine. Guess what works almost just as well? 15 minutes of mindful breathing. Just going and going, okay, oh, wow, I feel really anxious right now. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go sit up so that you're not laying down. It's too easy for you to fall asleep. And it's a little bit different what we're doing here. We want you to get to a relaxed state, but we don't want you to get into your body into sleep mode. All right. We want your body and your brain to relax and let go of some of the anxiety it has. And to do that, we need to go to a sitting up position. I still want you to be comfortable, but I want you to find a chair. You can sit on a pillow with your back up against a wall, whatever you want to do. And I want you to close your eyes, be mindful of your breath. Don't do anything specific with your breath. Just notice it and let it be very natural, breathing in and breathing out, your eyes closed, and just let yourself not think about anything in general, but just try to be there with your breath, connected to your breath. Do that for 15 to 20 minutes. Oh my gosh, it can help so much to help your brain just get back to a baseline pattern and let go of any anxiety that it might have collected or that you find yourself in. That's the first one I go to when I realize that I'm in anxiety right now and I want immediate relief. I got to tell you, it helps so much, and it only takes that 15 minutes. If you only have 10 minutes, you do it for 10 minutes, but it can be immediately helpful. The next thing, so tool number 2 is moving. Go to the gym, open the door and go for a walk, move your body, whatever you have to do to get your body and your mind in sync with each other and allow some of that anxiety to dissipate just through movement. It helps so much. You'd think that, what is that going to do, Aaron? Now I'm just walking in circles. Go for a walk around the block and just keep walking around the block for 5 times. Do it for 15, 20 minutes. You'll be amazed at how much tension your body and your brain allows yourself to let go and how that anxious pressure starts to dissipate. So getting more in movement and into your body can help with you being able to get out of that anxiety state if you find yourself immediately in it, or reacting to a situation in a very anxious way. It absolutely works. It also is really wonderful for just generating ideas and letting your brain go on what I call a walkabout, just to make connections with things you might not have thought about, things like that. Don't put a podcast in, don't put music on, don't do anything that's actually distracting your brain. I want you to just literally be walking outside or going to the gym, doing something where you are not distracting yourself with something else. That's key. All right. It might seem a little weird at first. I know I love listening to my podcasts and music when I'm working out or when I'm going for a walk, but this is something different. This is a tool in order for you to get out of that anxious state. And so I want you to really not have anything else that your brain has to worry about or think about or pick up and add to the soup while you're trying to get out of this anxious state. That is tool number 2. So tool number three is gratitude thinking. And I usually do these in this order. And I highly recommend that you steal it from me. Start with the 15 minutes of mindful breathing or transcendental meditation. Immediately walk outside, go for a walk, go to the gym, if that's part of your routine, whatever, just move your body. And number 3, then get into gratitude thinking. I just want you to start tasking your brain, because usually anxiety stems from you thinking about stories or worrying about something that you might not even be consciously have thought to worry about, but it's picked up on something and you're worried about something that might happen. It's usually future based and you're anxious about that it could happen. Okay. And even if you're not completely in your forward brain aware of it, there's something back there that you're worried about, that your lizard brain is concerned about. And so getting your brain tasked on gratitude thinking helps your brain to specifically look for stories and look for evidence that backs up just how wonderful your life is and how you are safe and that you're going to be okay. So gratitude thinking, these things that work for me, there'll be different things for you. You can go to, hey, I'm alive and I'm breathing right now. We can start there. Okay. Sometimes we need to start at the basics. I'm alive. I'm breathing. I'm walking right now. I'm with my family. We are safe. We're going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. I've had anxiety and anxiety attacks before. I get through them. They end. This won't always be this way. These are things you can start feeling gratitude for. Then you can start thinking about, man, I'm really glad that I'm on this trip. I'm really grateful for the moments that I've had on this trip with my family, and start thinking about the positive things that have happened to you in the last couple of days. Think about if you have a job that you really love, if you have a partner that you're very grateful for, different things that your kids have done for you on Father's Day or on Mother's Day or whatever it is. Do you have a dog? Do you love petting that dog? Think about all the things that you're grateful for, that you have a healthy body. If you are lucky enough to have a functioning and wonderful body that moves and allows you to do the things that you want to do, that's something to be grateful for as well. For your health, for the phone in your pocket that allows you to communicate with people at a moment's notice, for all of the wonderful things in our lives where I turn on a tap and I get clean, fresh drinking water out of it. What are all of the things that you can just start to, like, it's like adding pebbles or drops of water to an empty glass of water, that one on top of another, they start to fill your cup up to where your brain has more evidence of things that are going well, rather than concentrating on or worrying about things that might happen in the future. It really helps. Okay. So gratitude thinking, just allow your brain to start listing all of the things that you're grateful for. It sounds a little bit cheesy, maybe. It so helps. Okay. So those are the 3 tools that I want you to use. If you're one of my fellow anxious brethren and you find yourself having these things and the need for these things, it's the reason that I became a coach. That's what I want to remind you of. The reason that I started this podcast, the reason that I went and became a coach, that now that I also pair that with hormones and effective things for men, for their wellness, all of these things are because of the fact that I struggle with these things. I struggle with anxiety. I struggle with bouts of depression. I struggle with maintaining and finding male relationships that are supportive and connections that I want. And so I do the work to go and do these things because they help me. And when I find things that help me, then I bring them to you and share them with you. That's the entire purpose of this. And so when things like this happen to me and I'm reminded of the tools that someone gave me, I feel that it is my responsibility and my honor to be able to share them with you as well. And so those 3 things, please try them out in that order. And they're very easy. Once you do them the first time, you can just have these 3 tools in your toolbox. You can use at any point if you're having one of those days. 15 minutes of mindful breathing, number 1, or transcendental meditation. Move, get outside, go to the gym, go for a walk, whatever, just move your body. And then do 5 minutes. It's all it takes a lot of times. 5 minutes of gratitude thinking. Just start listing in your brain all the things in your life that you're grateful for, to task your brain on to stop worrying about what might happen and start looking at all the things that are going well. If you do these 3 things, I promise you, you are going to be able to get out of that pit and dial it down as your anxiety level so much faster than if you just hope it goes away or pretend it's not there. If you do these things, it will help you get out of the pit so much faster. If you appreciate once you start using these things, please pass them along to other people, that your other brothers and sisters, because I want as many people as possible to know how effective these easy things are, and that we all can retrain our brains a little bit to, when we find ourselves in anxiety or starting to feel a downward spiral of depression, we can use this in order to start our buoyancy to start moving up instead of down, or at least slow the descent and then slowly start moving back up. It's essential. And so that's what I wanted to share with you this week. Please try it out. Even if you just use 1 or 2 of these tools and try it out this week, I think that would be a wonderful thing for you to start adding to your toolkit that you can grab anytime that you want. All right, my friends, thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you next week. Have a fantastic week. If you are a man interested in learning more about testosterone optimization and other cutting-edge wellness therapies coupled with high-performance coaching, you have to check out olympusmen.com. There you will find out more about how to work with us, as well as a free guide that will answer everything you always wanted to know about testosterone therapy and if it might be right for you. Head to olympusmen.com right now to learn more.
Thanks for listening to Storied Coaching with Aaron J. Jacobs. If you want more information or resources from the podcast, visit us at storiedcoaching.com.